struggling readers think about being identified as struggling readers? That's what we're talking about in this video. Hey everybody, I'm Lee Hall with Literacy Teachers, and we're all about helping you inspire, motivate, and change how your students read and write for academic success. In this video, we're going to be taking a close look at an 8th grader named Anthony, who is labeled as a struggling reader, and we're going to learn a little bit about his reading practices and what he thinks of the label that's been placed on him. So let's go take a look. All right, so let's dive in and get to know Anthony a little bit better. So first of all, when I met him, he was 14 years old in the 8th grade, and he regularly tested at reading on a 3rd grade level. He did not have a learning disability, so he really fit that stereotypical traditional definition of a struggling reader that I mentioned in a previous video. Now, here's the thing to know about Anthony though. Anthony had reading practices. He read sports biographies regularly. He went to the library at least once a month with his mom and his sister to get these books. Now, I never saw Anthony carrying any of these books. I was in his class for a whole year. I never once saw him bring a biography or bring any kind of book to class. I never saw a book on him. I never saw him reading. But when I would talk to Anthony, he could always tell me what he was reading, and he could talk about it extensively and answer questions about it. So I do think he was reading. He was just reading at home, or, certainly not at any time when I ever could see him doing it, right? But it did happen. Now, here's the thing with Anthony. Anthony had some things that he wanted out of school. He wanted to become a better reader. So you'll see in a minute, Anthony is aware of his struggles, okay? And in my experience, all struggling readers are aware of their struggles, okay? And everybody that I'm going to be showing you in this series, they all want to become better readers, and they all want to do better in school, and they all want to learn and improve their grades. And we'll get at in some later videos what's hindering them from being able to accomplish these goals. But Anthony really wanted to become a better reader, and he saw becoming a better reader as allowing him to do better in school and to learn to learn more information in school. And he thought he could accomplish this goal to become a better reader if he simply read every day. Okay? Now, I can't say that necessarily worked out for him, but that's what he believed he needed to do. Now, Anthony is also aware that he tests on a 3rd grade level. He was very aware of that. He could articulate that to me. He knows, or he believes, that his teachers and peers believe he cannot read. Now, sometimes, teenagers will make a bigger thing about, everybody thinks I'm this, everybody thinks I'm that. But Anthony really did have a reputation amongst his classmates as someone who wasn't really seen as a strong reader. And the teachers that I talked to really didn't see him as a strong reader either, okay? But he also knew that he had difficulties comprehending. He didn't shy away from that. He didn't hide that. He was front and center. Yes, I have reading problems. But what I want to show you now is a transcript from a conversation that I had with Anthony. And it's talking about when Anthony told me that he read on a 3rd grade level. He told me that they said that he reads on a 3rd grade level. And so I want to share this with you because I think it gives some really great insight into a struggling reader. So I said, "Who says you read on a 3rd grade level?" And Anthony says, "The school, teachers, tests, all of that says I can't read, but they're all wrong." "How so?" I ask. Anthony says, "Well, everyone thinks I can't read, but I can. They don't know it, but I read all the time." I said, "You do?" Because I had never seen Anthony read anything on his own. I'd never seen him read things that he was assigned to read. And he says, "Yep, all the time." And I said, "Like what?" And he says, "Well, I love to read biographies. My mom takes me and my sister to the library, and that's usually what I pick out. I love learning about interesting people. Reading can be hard for me, but I'm not a bad reader." So this is a really interesting conversation, I thought, where you can tell that Anthony is aware of how he is positioned in school. He is aware that there are tests that say you read on a particular grade level. He is aware of how people might perceive him, And he's also aware that reading can be hard for him, but he chooses to not let that define him. Other people might define him as a bad reader, or struggling reader, poor reader, whatever. But he does not let the tests, his teachers, his classmates, his experiences in school, he does not let that define him. So what are some takeaways from this? Because you're going to see this, and we're going to be doing multiple portraits of struggling readers, and you're going to notice a lot of things coming up over and over again, because Anthony is not unique as a struggling reader. The things that he says, that's very common. Every struggling reader I've ever had any in-depth conversations with and worked with over time have all said these same things. So things to know here is they are aware of their reading difficulties. Okay, they know they have problems. They know they have comprehension difficulties. They know they're not doing so well in school. They do want to improve. Okay, they really do. I know on the surface, it doesn't always look that way, but we are in some future videos here going to be diving into what they want to improve, but they're not doing anything. Why is that? We are going to be getting at that question. And what I have noticed is I put here, often they have a reading practice at home, because I don't want to talk in absolutes, but I will tell you that in my 16 years of research with struggling readers and my time as a middle school teacher, I have yet to meet a kid who's labeled a struggling reader who doesn't have a reading practice in some fashion, right? My experience is they all enjoy reading something.